Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And this time I'll be playing Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 2. Now, I'm a relative newcomer to the Legacy of Kain series. In fact, I have just finished Blood Omen 1 and Soul Reaver 1 for the first time a couple of months ago. And I must say, even though I loved Blood Omen, Soul Reaver 1 has left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I didn't entirely enjoy the game. I found it a little bit tedious in its construction, so I am a bit apprehensive about Soul Reaver 2, but I'm willing to give it a try. As I said, I definitely like the stories of the games and some of the voice acting, although mainly for Kain himself. Like, Kain himself is beautifully voice acted. And I loved Blood Omen 1 in no small part due to the big role that Kain himself played in that game as opposed to Soul Reaver. Now, with this game being called Soul Reaver 2, I suppose it's going to be a direct continuation of Soul Reaver 1, which ended on a blatant cliffhanger and on a blatant sequel bait. So I expect this game to still feature Raziel as the main character, which I would have preferred to have more Kain, but hopefully he appears in more scenes maybe. Without further ado, let me start a new game, because the music in this main menu here seems to be unaffected by the actual sound volume that I chose, so it's very loud.
At last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers?
Did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss?
Eternity is relentless, Raziel. When I first stole into this chamber centuries ago, I did not fathom the true power of knowledge. To know the future, Raziel. To see its paths and streams tracing out into the infinite. As a man, I could never contain such forbidden truths. But each of us is so much more than we once were. Do you not feel with all your soul how we have become like gods? As such, are we not indivisible? As long as a single one of us stands, we are legion. Our futures are predestined. Moebius foretold mine eons ago. We each play out the parts fate has written for us. Free will is an illusion.
I found the tomb of Sarafan, Kain. How could you profane a priest by turning him into a vampire?
How could I not? One must keep his friends close, Raziel, and his enemies even closer. Who better to serve me than those whose passion transcends all notions of good and evil?
The Sarafan were saviors, defending Nosgoth from the corruption that we represent. My eyes are open, Kain. I find no nobility in the unlife you rudely forced on my unwilling corpse.
You may have uncovered your past, but you know nothing of it. You think the Sarafan were noble, altruistic? Oh, don't be simple. Their agenda was the same as ours. You nearly had me, Raziel. this is not where or how it ends. Fate promises more twists before this drama unfolds completely.
Raziel, Redeemer and Destroyer, Pawn and Messiah. Welcome, time-span soul. Welcome to your destiny.
Okay, a couple of things I would like to say before I forget, because who knows how long exactly this intro cutscene is going to be. The intro cinematic recounted the ending of Soul Reaver 1, but I cannot help but notice there were slight differences. Like the speech that Kain gave seemed abridged. It omitted some elements from Soul Reaver 1. And actually some moments, some quotes that I found to be rather cool. For example, in Soul Reaver 1, after Raziel asked, if did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss? Kain said, "No, I had faith in you, in your self-righteous indignation, in your ability to hate," or something along that lines. So overall, there were some parts omitted from Soul Reaver 1, which I suppose was done for the sake of brevity, but I don't really understand it. Like, it wouldn't have added more than like 30 seconds or a minute at most if they added all of the dialogue from Soul Reaver 1. If they went through the trouble of making the cinematic at all, they could have kept it the same. Also, it was weird how Raziel didn't use the Soul Reaver at all during the fight in the cinematic, whereas obviously in Soul Reaver 1 you had the option to, and you could use it quite profusely. And also, lastly, first of all, it seems that in the cinematic, Raziel was almost outmatched by Kain, whereas it seemed to me, when I played Soul Reaver 1, that it was the other way around. It's almost as if Kain was fleeing you. He got wounded a couple of times, and then he escaped through that portal or whatever, however you would call that. So it's an interesting discrepancy. And lastly, and I think rather significantly, this intro, the cinematic, completely omitted the presence of the Elder God and the Elder God's warning, because in Soul Reaver 1, before Raziel followed Kain into the portal, he heard a warning in the voice of the Elder God, saying that if he crosses this threshold, he will go beyond the influence of the Elder God. And obviously the Elder God was like a crucial character, like pretty much the main character, the narrator of Soul Reaver 1. So it's interesting to me that they omitted his presence entirely when recounting the events, and it almost, all of the discrepancies coupled with the theme of time travel in the different universes sort of makes me wonder if it was if it was supposed to be a recreation of the events of Soul Reaver 1, or maybe that was a different reality. And that's why things went a little bit different, because it was a yet another universe, for example, in which Well, I suppose it couldn't be a universe in which the Elder God didn't exist, because if he didn't, Raziel would have not survived the Abyss. But you know what I mean, it might have been a different universe with some slight changes. But enough of my inane babbling, let's let the game get back to the cutscene.
Where am I? Is the usual question. In your case, when might be more apt.
Very well, you old snake. If you'd prefer I use my bare hands...
This is completely unexpected. This orb disables our vampire enemies, leaving them helpless and incapacitated. Strangely, it seems to have the same effect on that peculiar weapon of yours. But you must believe me. I mean you no harm.
You can drop the benevolent facade, Moebius. I know who and what you are. I shall kill you where you stand.
Perhaps you should, my boy. But you don't.
Are you so certain of that, Moebius?
My role as Time Guardian affords me a certain level of omniscience, Raziel. No, you don't kill me. That honor belongs to your maker, Kain, some 30 years from now.
Ah, you two are a pair. You're just as fatalistic as he is.
Death comes for us all, Raziel. It's just a matter of time.
How is it that you know my name? We have never met.
On the contrary, Raziel, I know you very well. And it grieves me to see how cruelly Kain has used you. I knew you when you were one of the Sarafan Brotherhood, Raziel. We were even close.
Oh, please.
Fortunately, you need not love me now to be my ally.
Are we within the stronghold of the Sarafan priesthood?
Yes, but the glorious days of the Sarafan have long since passed, I'm afraid. This is a more cynical and indecorous age. My mercenary army now inhabits this stronghold. We strive to honor the memory of the Sarafan with our own humble crusade.
Is this the vampire Vorador?
Yes, the scourge of the Circle, the most depraved and decadent example of his whole degenerate race. He slaughtered 6 of my fellow Guardians as they cowered defenseless in this room.
And you somehow survived this massacre?
I and 2 others. The Circle was devastated. Only we 3 were spared.
How convenient. You'll forgive me if I don't naively devour every scrap of information you toss me. You have a reputation for deceit.
And who has slandered me so? Your malefactor, Kain? The one who betrayed and destroyed you? Our common enemy? Consider the source before you judge me too harshly. We'll forget about rekindling our old friendship then. But consider an alliance based on our common ground. We both want Kain dead. I can help you do it.
You don't want to meddle in this, old man. I know all about your sordid little schemes, but you're simply out of your depth on this one.
You underestimate me, Raziel. Let me show you. Even now, Kain is lying in wait for you, unaware that I've snatched you out of the time stream and brought you here to me. See how he lingers at the very pillars he is destined to destroy, foolishly confident that he has eluded your grasp.
The pillars are still standing in this time.
Yes, Raziel. They are the embodiment of the divine force which preserves the life of our world. We who serve the pillars maintain their delicate balance, and Kain is destined to be the fulcrum upon which that balance turns. I believe you have already endured the wasteland wrought by his terrible, selfish decision. Kain's very existence is a cancer upon this world. As long as he lives, all of Nosgoth is in peril. You may never again be human, Raziel. but you can re-embrace the essence of your humanity and the nobility of your Sarafan heritage. Go to him, Raziel, and end this. But first, you will need to find your way out of the stronghold, and in this, I'm afraid I cannot help you. My soldiers will not understand your appearance here. They will try to kill you. You needn't fear them, of course. They're no match for you. Try to keep the casualties to a minimum. But do what you have to do. All great movements require a few martyrs.
Alone now, I surveyed my surroundings and noticed a second time-streaming chamber. Its entrance identical to the first, but with one distinction. That crystal was significant, but how, I had not yet discovered.
Okay, so... Okay. So once again, I move using the arrow keys as opposed to WSD. The controls are kind of similar to Soul Reaver 1, but I will still require a bit of time to refamiliarize myself with them. Okay, so this is like a block. And this is shooting, I guess. But which button do I use to release it? Okay. But coming back to the intro cinematic, I would like to know how do I, because there was a button in Soul Reaver 1 that I could use to manipulate the camera without using the mouse, which is unwieldy to use, what with movement being mapped to the arrow keys. Aim on A, you say, but how can I move the camera without aiming a projectile? So obviously the sound is a little bit distracting. But the intro, yeah. So I don't trust Moebius farther than I can spit. Like, it's very obvious that he's playing his own game here somehow, what with all of the sinister glances that he has given me in this very intro. And when he said, try to spare my soldiers, but don't fret about it too much, because all movements require some martyrs. It immediately made me think of his gambit in Blood Omen, where he, where he led you onto the idea of killing William the Just, thereby igniting, I suppose, this very crusade of which he spoke in this game's intro. I suppose I came back in time to the time of after King William the Just's death, where Moebius's followers were waging a holy war against vampires. But what is weird to me is that because Raziel of this timeline is, I suppose, dead at this point. Moebius said that he knew him, past tense, when he was a Sarafan warrior, so I suppose he's dead, which at least eliminates that sort of paradox. But what I don't quite get is there should be two Kains in this timeline now, right? Because obviously Kain himself was very much alive in the original version of this timeline at this point, fighting against Moebius's soldiers, and judging by the original timeline of Soul Reaver 1, he eventually triumphed and conquered all of Nosgoth with his vampires. But now he escaped from that other reality, other timeline in which he has already won, to this one in which he has not. So I don't quite understand how it works, because essentially there should be two Kains right now, but I'm pretty sure the game must elaborate upon it at some point. It's far too important of a plot point to omit. Now, the murals all showcase Vorador doing different things. There is Vorador fighting some soldier guy. There is Vorador, I don't know, probably being lecherous over a neck of some holy woman. There is Vorador knifing some guys. There is Vorador again killing someone with a knife. And Vorador killing someone with a sword this time and tasting their blood. Okay. Well, that's I guess enough for this room. So that's where I came from, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that. Okay, so I can still travel to the ghost realm or whatever it is. Action to view map. Yeah, I don't really want to shift as of yet. Let's continue. Action to open. What was it again? Okay, X. But I would still appreciate like a button to, specifically a keyboard button to control the camera. Like, I guess I can do this, but as I said, it's rather annoying because of the sound. There was, I think, a button called auto face or something. Left control. Okay. Sure, I guess. But I guess that probably only works when there's an enemy in view. Okay, so I can defeat at least the regular humans without the need of impaling them, which I guess isn't that weird. After all, they are just humans. I suppose when I face other vampires, which should be much rarer in this timeline, but nonetheless, when I face them, I will probably have to impale them.
Taste my blade, vampire!
I'll take a weapon. Least of all because if I aim with a weapon drawn, it doesn't make the sound. can take weapons from fallen enemies as well. Good to know.
Throughout the stronghold, I discovered evidence of my former nobility and my life as a Sarafan priest. This was the heritage so foully stolen from me when Kain raided my sacred crypt and defiled me. Prepare to die.
I kind of press doubt on the whole former nobility aspect, what with the courtyard of this monastery being adorned with like cut off heads or whatever. Like that doesn't strike me as the most noble of ways of conducting warfare. Especially because, are they vampire heads? Like, supposedly you'd think so, but then wouldn't they, like vampires in Soul Reaver 1, once you killed them, effectively, you know, once you ended them rightly, as it were, they crumbled pretty much to dust, but that might have been a gameplay limitation as opposed to something that was supposed to really happen in lore. And that's where I came from. I guess let's try shifting to the spirit world to see what happens. It still functions more or less the same. I guess I once again, as of now, I can only manifest the Soul Reaver once inside the spirit world. The ability to use it in the material world has been disabled. Okay, maybe the metal bars on the other side of this door have opened, because I seem to faintly remember that some metal bars were moving. Nope, still closed. So what did even happen? This didn't really change anything, apart from making some corners crooked. There's a world map once again. Streaming device and the Sarafan stronghold is where I am currently. They have only the faintest idea of what I'm doing. Can I still... Okay, that's rather counterintuitive, because sure, I could, Raziel could do that by the end of Soul Reaver 1, but the game should have reminded me of it. There is no good reason to not expect to lose that ability, especially after the game took away the Soul Reaver in the material world. So I am a bit annoyed by the lack of a suggestion that I could still do that, even though the game has changed.
From the influence of Moebius's cursed staff, I could feel the strength of the Soul Reaver slowly returning. If that orb was as debilitating to vampires as it was to the blade, it gave Moebius a powerful advantage over his enemies. I finally understood how Moebius's crusade could decimate the vampires so successfully. If he could immobilize his enemies, they were at his mercy. But why, I wondered? Would the staff have any effect on the Reaver?
Okay, so I guess I do. I guess I spoke too soon, and I do still have the Soul Reaver, although if it works the same as it did in Soul Reaver 1, then I'm going to lose it in like 3 seconds after I get wounded once, which shouldn't take long. Yeah. Prepare yourselves for more of that. Though I guess technically speaking, I can always do this, heal in the spirit world, which seems to be abundant with like flying souls of whatever, which look like skulls. Well, actually they don't look like skulls, they seem to literally be skulls, of a spectral kind. And then I can just do this, and this should return the Soul Reaver? Yeah. Oh. not that it lasted for very long. Is there at least some other weapon, maybe? Okay, I'm remarkably inept at this game's combat.
As I neared the stronghold's inner sanctum, a strange sensation crept over me. An indescribable feeling of displacement, a sense of vertigo, as reality itself appeared to warp and bend around me. The disturbance seemed to emanate from the sanctuary's furthest chapel. As I cautiously approached, the sense of dislocation intensified with each step. So this was the tomb of the beloved King William the Just, beatified here as the martyr and catalyst of Moebius's crusade. I was reminded of Kain's journey as a fledgling vampire, how Moebius coerced him to travel back in history and assassinate William, thus igniting a genocidal hatred of vampires among the citizens of Nosgoth. And here I discovered the source of the displacement. The Soul Reaver itself, laid out like a holy relic, and broken, apparently in the battle between William and Kain. I had not thought such a thing was possible, until, of course, Kain shattered the blade against me when he tried to strike me down. Thus, the captive spirit inhabiting the Reaver was released, and binding itself to me, became my symbiotic weapon. And so the Reaver met its former self, still imprisoned in this corporeal shell. I watched, mesmerized, as the Wraith blade uncoiled itself and snaked down the length of the physical blade. Embracing its twin, its mirror self, the Reaver's long-dormant spirit was now fully aroused, and for the first time, I felt the true presence of this other entity, willful, ravenous, and deranged from thousands of years of imprisonment. The Reaver was now in command, and I, now merely its helpless host, felt my soul being leached to restore the blade. But the Reaver knew better than to destroy its host, and just as I neared the brink of oblivion, the blade released its hold on me. As I recovered, I realized we were now bound together in a fragile alliance. The Reaver no longer merely my symbiotic weapon, but a sentient parasite competing for control.
What have you done to me, Moebius? Is this your trap?
How mine? Don't forget it was Kain who led you here, not I. While you curse me, the only soul in Nosgoth ready to guide and assist you, Kain laughs at our folly and revels in your dismay.
These blades, now coiled in sinister embrace, have inspired terror in the hearts of creatures far more durable than you, old man. Bound together as they are, I can only imagine what they could do to your soul's fragile shell.
Raziel, I beg you to stay your hand. This was none of my doing. I have sought only to aid you in your righteous quest.
Why, you're trembling, Moebius. Has your confidence abandoned you? You seem to have made a fatal error by leaving your precious staff behind. Is that where all your courage comes from?
Listen to me, Raziel. You don't know what you're doing. I have taken an enormous risk by appearing here before you, so defenseless, yet eager to prove my good intentions. If there's anything left of the Seraphim in you, you won't do this. While you threaten me, your true enemy eludes you.
Don't concern yourself with Kain, old man. He'll join you in hell soon enough. As you said, death comes for us all.
Yes, the Wheel of Fate demands it.
What did you say?
The Wheel of Fate. The inexorable cycle of death and rebirth to which all men are compelled. We serve the same God, Raziel. To strike me down would be striking God's own attendant. And I don't believe even you would take that risk.
I tire of your games, Moebius. Now that I know you fear me, I needn't concern myself with you. Kain is waiting for me.
Go then, Raziel. Seek Kain out and destroy him in the name of the one God we both serve. You, who were once a Seraphim priest, murdered, profaned, destroyed, and reborn again from his mercy. You are now most powerfully equipped to be his agent, his instrument of restoration and retribution.
My own vengeance is motivation enough.
By my soul, you almost had me, my little blue assassin. But that'll be the one and only chance you get. I assure you of that.
I could now summon the blade at will, regardless of my strength. But once summoned, the blade's ravenous appetite could not be contained. It devoured the souls of its victims, and if I allowed it to become over-aroused, the Reaver would now turn its hunger on me.
What does it mean in practical terms? Oh, I guess it means it lowered my health? But how do I summon it? Action to activate Soul Reaver. Okay, I will wait for actual combat to do that. Because I'm not yet sure exactly what the consequences are, but I can't seem to notice that my health has shrunk considerably. Now, this stained glass window depicts Kain fighting William the Just, and they are both wielding a Soul Reaver, which I suppose created some kind of weird time paradox. I'm not yet sure of the significance of the event that just happened, but it surely was significant, and I'm sure the game will elaborate upon it. Now, Moebius seems to claim that he serves the Elder God, but it seemed to me, by the end of Soul Reaver 1, that Raziel was like beyond caring. The Elder God warned him specifically not to cross the portal, because that would supposedly leave him beyond the Elder God's influence. And yet Raziel did anyway.
So this was the legendary Janos Ordrin, reputed to have been the most ancient and diabolical vampire to have ever existed. According to folklore, he lived high in the cliffs of Nosgoth's northern mountains and preyed mercilessly on the defenseless villages below. His reign of terror ended when the Seraphim finally hunted him down and tore his throbbing heart from his still-living body. This relic came to be known as the Heart of Darkness, and was supposedly imbued with the power to restore vampiric unlife. The Seraphim therefore guarded it carefully, lest the heart fall into the hands of their enemies. But I wondered,
Could Janos Ordren truly have been as monstrous as depicted here? Or was this merely artistic license by the Sarafan, who sought to lionize themselves by demonizing their darkest enemy?
Well, I don't know, but I suppose the game will probably tell me eventually. Okay, no more stained glass windows here. Well, I guess those are all stained glass windows, but what I meant is no special scenes being depicted or anything like that. Wait, was there another passage at the other end of the big chamber? Or was that just where I came from originally? I could probably face... oh, I guess I can't face through that. Exactly, because there's a literal door behind that metal bar. Okay, so let's go there then, because I came from somewhere over here originally. I think from here. Devour soul to turn the Reaver on and off. What are you talking about? I'm pretty sure you said I no longer need full health, so I don't quite understand. I don't get it what they mean with the Devour Soul plus Devour Soul to enable the Soul Reaver.
Strange how my history came full circle. This chapel, I realized, was a memorial to my former Sarafan brethren and myself. All of us martyred here. And then so cruelly profaned by Kain when he imposed his gift on our noble corpses. For the first time, I beheld the image of my Sarafan self, memorialized here among my fallen comrades. It tortured me to see how noble and pure I had been, and what a vile phantasm I had become, and a profound sense of injury, of loss and betrayal welled up in me, so overwhelming I could barely contain it. All I wanted at this moment was to find Kain and destroy him.
Okay, let's test how this works. So I think it drains my health when I have it drawn. Can I... But I can just resign from having to wield it, so I don't quite understand. Now, this is my statue. And those are my brothers from whom I've killed all of them in Soul Reaver 1. When they were already turned into vampires. Zephon, I believe, was like a weird spider Dumas. Dumas was like a big brute, the strongest of them. It's weird that it depicts like a weird demon behind him. Malkaya was a weird patchwork flesh creature or something like that. And Rahab was like a fish, kind of like a fish-like creature. But I guess that's quite interesting, because I guess that leaves Turel, whom I've never faced in Soul Reaver 1. He was conspicuously absent. Like, I've never killed him because I've never found him. I've heard some things about him, but only in passing. So I wonder if he will ever return, because obviously they are all dead currently in this timeline, and they are dead in the previous timeline as well. But Turel lives, or at least exists, as a vampire in the previous timeline from which Kain and Raziel have fled. So I wonder if he will show up at any point. But with that being said, this episode is more than long enough. So, wait a second. Does this game save automatically, or? How do I save in this? Because I'm not going to lie, I would like to end the episode and go to sleep. But let me search that quickly. Be right back. Okay, so apparently I can only save in specific spots. Like there's supposed to be like a yellow obelisk or something along those lines. So I'm not at all impressed by that decision, but I don't have much choice. So hopefully I can find one of those safe spots soon-ish and end this first episode, which is going to be a little bit longer than I anticipated or wanted it to be. But it's not like if I can't save before exiting whenever I want, then obviously I would lose all of my progress, which is totally nonsensical. Wait, did I come from here? I'm already kind of lost. If you don't know that from watching me play Soul Reaver 1, I'm legendarily bad at finding my way.
I emerged, and for the first time beheld Nosgoth in its former glory. The land overflowed with abundant life and vitality, and I knew with certainty then that the world I had left behind was nothing more than the corpse of Nosgoth, a lifeless husk bled dry by the corruption of Kain's parasitic empire. This was the fragile world Kain sacrificed to preserve his own petty life and ambition, heedless of the profound cost. The sight only deepened my resolve. I sensed that the pillars lay to the northwest. If Kain truly waited to confront me there, I would not disappoint him.
Okay, supposedly I can say, well, hopefully I still can swim, because I couldn't at the very beginning of Soul Reaver 1, but supposedly there's like an obelisk or something like that, which should allow me to save. doesn't exactly look like an obelisk, but I guess it looks interesting enough.
As I passed this arcane landmark, a wisp of the Reaver's energy was drawn to the ring, illuminating it. This created a beacon of sorts in the spirit world. If ever I found myself depleted in the spectral realm, and my soul tossed on the ethereal winds, these beacons would draw me back to safety and restore me.
So by that, do you mean it's a save point? Hello? Action to operate. I don't know if this is it. Like, sure, it was talking a little bit about saving my progress, but I would like to be certain before I exit the game. Obviously it would suck a lot to lose all of the progress from the last hour. Okay, this kind of looks like an obelisk.
These ancient obelisks were mysteriously attuned to my spiritual essence. By simply touching the symbol, I could safely preserve an imprint of my soul, and thus create a milestone to which I could return when weary, and from which I could resume my journey.
Okay, so this is it. I hate predetermined saving spots. I hate the absence of manual saving because it's very annoying, especially, you know, once you're an adult, once you have actual responsibilities in your life, you often require to be able to stop the game whenever you want. But some of those older games, especially, they don't seem to care about such a possibility. So I'm glad that at the very least I managed to find it already, even though this episode is a bit too long. But that's enough for this first one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.